It's April 2009 and this is the re-release of Photo Walkthrough Episode 2, Tutorial 1, Chapter 2. This is a re-encoding of the original Tutorial 1 chapter files. I managed to dig out the old files and re-encode them using our new encoding format, which looks much nicer than those original files and allows you to download and keep them. I hope you enjoy it.
Okay, hello again. We're back with the Weston at low tide image. This time I'm going to work on a couple of layers, lightening and darkening the image. What I'm going to try and achieve here is trying to bring some of the levels closer together. So some of the darker regions will lighten them up, some of the lighter regions will darken them down, just to try and even the image out a little bit. So I'm going to start out by creating a darkening layer. I'm just going to drag the layer palette in here. I'm going to start by creating a curves layer, which this is the adjustment layers icon down here. I'm going to choose curves. It's going to open this big old curves window, and the reason it's so large in this case is that I've opened it up using this icon here. And remember, you can also alt click to increase or decrease the size of the grid. I think Chris mentioned that on one of the shows at some point. But I'm just going to press OK on that. I'm not going to drag the curve around at all. I've done nothing to that curves layer apart from create it and leave it as it is. The way I'm going to use this to darken the image is I'm going to choose a blending mode of multiply. Now, just in case you've never seen this before, this blending modes drop down here is split into sections, and there are three sections I want to quickly mention. The section here that starts with darken, these four will all darken the image down. The section that starts with lighten, these four will all lighten the image up. And this section that starts with overlay, all 7 of these will increase contrast in the image. But what we want to do is multiply. In this case, multiply gives us a nice darkening effect. So if you watch the image when I choose multiply, you'll see it darkens down quite a bit. Now, I'm going to just quickly fill my layer mask with black so that I can seal that effect briefly. You see my background colour here is black. With my layer mask selected, I'm going to hit Control and Delete, and that will fill the layer mask with my background colour. Remember, Alt Delete fills with the foreground colour, Control Delete fills with the background colour. So I filled my layer mask with black, and that has concealed the darkening effect, so the image has gone light again. So if I drag that back out, and that back out, let's just quickly analyse the image and figure out what it is I want to do here. If you look at the image on the left here, we've got some sort of darker, greyer tones, and on the right here we've got some lighter bits and some highlights here. There's a general sort of gradient, sort of darker over this side, lighter over this side in this image, that I'd like just to even out. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a gradient on my layer mask for this darkening layer. So the gradient tool is this tool here, which by default will come up with a gradient from your foreground colour to your background colour, so white to black in this case. And what I'm going to do is, with the layer mask selected again, I'm going to draw with my gradient tool across the image. Now remember, white reveals, black conceals. I want the darkening to be revealed on the right hand side of the image, and I want the darkening to be concealed on the left. So it will get darker on the right and there will be no change on the left. So I'm going to draw from right to left. I'm going to hold down the Shift key so that this line stays perfectly horizontal, and when I let go, the darkening effect is revealed on the right hand side of the image, and less so, or not at all, on the left of the image. I think that's probably a little bit too much. The boat's gone very dark here. I'll fix that in a moment, but I'm going to drag the opacity of this layer down just a little bit. You can see that lightening up there. I'll drag that down to about 65%. Now I think that's about even. I think it's roughly in the sky and in the sand here, roughly similar darkness on that side to that side. We've vaguely sorted out the levels. Now the image is overall very dark at the moment. I'm going to sort that out, but before I do, I'd like to just quickly correct some of the darkening I've done on that boat there, because I've made that quite a lot too dark. So I'm just going to zoom in on the boat a little bit, and with my brush tool, grab that by selecting the B key. I'm going to make my brush a little smaller by using the square bracket keys. And with my white selected, which is my foreground colour, with my black selected, pressing X to switch my foreground and background colour, I'm just going to paint black over the boat here just to conceal that darkening effect, because we're working on a darkening layer here, remember. Just conceal that black darkening effect a little bit, not too much in the shadows, just in the regions where your eye is going to sit, which is on the front of the boat, on the cabin of the boat, in the detail areas, that sort of thing. So, working with my Wacom tablet here, so I can press harder if I want the effect to be increased, or press lighter if I only want a slight effect. So just quickly showing you the layer mask, you can see I'm not painting all black here, I'm painting mostly sort of grey. I'm not pressing very hard, I'm just sort of layering it in. And there we go, just to bring back some of the light on the front of that boat. There'll be plenty more light coming soon, but just to try and keep it all nicely visible and in gamut, and keep information for us to work with later. So that's my darkening layer. I'm just going to drag that back in, and I'm going to just double click on the name and say darken, so that I can see what it is later on. And now I'm going to create a lightening layer, which is the same thing again. I'm going to add a curves adjustment layer, and I'm just going to press OK on it. I'm not going to do any changes to it. And this time, instead of multiply, this time I'm going to choose screen. So just like last time, it's the second one down in the lightening section as opposed to the second one down in the darkening section. So I'm going to choose screen, and as you see, that if I just turn that layer on and off, that's how it looked before, that's how it looks after. You can see that that lightens up the image quite a bit, probably quite a lot more than I want, so I'm just going to straight off drag that down to 50%. This is a pretty useful way to do this actually. When you create a darkening or lightening layer, sometimes worth dragging it to 50% right away, so that you can, when you do your edits, if you find they're too much, you can drag the opacity down. If you find they're not enough, you can drag the opacity up. So a lot of these layers I make it 50% to start with, and then I tweak the opacity later. So, just zooming back out, just checking my crib sheet to see what I did last time. Looking at this image, there are a couple of areas here. I'm going to just quickly fill that layer mask with black, just to conceal the whole lightening effect. I think on the whole this is mostly painting in, so I've filled the layer mask with black. I hit Alt Delete there because black is my foreground colour at the moment. I'm going to go back to my brush tool, select white as my painting colour, and I'm just going to paint in white in some of the areas that are notably darker. So this upper corner here is probably just a little bit dark. I take the edge off that a little bit. This region here is definitely quite a bit darker, so I'm going to take quite a lot of the edge off that. And that little line through there. There's a sort of a generally darker region here. I'm just going to, you might not even see what I'm doing, just sort of layering it in a little bit, lightening that bit there, and then the other thing I would like to lighten, because my expectation of the way a viewer would view this image is to start by looking at the larger boat in the foreground, and then I imagine the eye travelling to this boat here, sort of in the middle ground, and then possibly up to the pier in the background. So, looking at the lightness values of those, I think the pier's probably a shade dark, so I'm going to just choose my brush, shrink it down a little bit, and I'm going to paint in the lightening layer on the pier there, just to lighten it up a little bit in the darker areas of it. And I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more, and just try and lighten some of the towers at the end of the pier. And as you can see, this is a really good source image. I was dead pleased with this. It's loads of detail in here, lovely and sharp. Right, and just a little bit more lightening on this tower here at the end, trying hard not to lighten it too much, certainly not past the, as you can see, the end of the pier here caught the sunlight. I don't want to go quite as light as that. I just want things closer to each other in tones. I don't want to make it a completely false looking image. So I think that's probably enough for the pier. Trying hard not to. I think I just went slightly outside the tower there and made a little bit of a halo down the side. So I just undid that, did it again, and let's zoom back out and see how we look. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to stop there and do the black and white conversion in the next video. So I will see you then.
Today's show is sponsored by angieslist.com. We'd like to say a massive thank you to Angie's List for supporting the show. If you're looking for a contractor to do some work on your house or your car or maybe a healthcare professional, head on over to angieslist.com. They've got the best and the most user-submitted reviews of contractors in your local area. You won't find a better, more reliable service for finding out who does good work in your area. Please head on over to angieslist.com and use the promo code PHOTO to get a 25% discount on any subscription that you make there. Thanks for watching this re-encoded version of Photo Walkthrough Tutorial 1. Remember, you can follow the show at photowalkthrough.com and you can follow me on Twitter at user FloydUK. That's twitter.com/FloydUK. And of course, you can email me by emailing photowalkthrough@gmail.com. And I look forward to receiving your emails, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.
Photocastnetwork.com, your photography resource in the potosphere. Photocastnetwork.com